things that's very interesting about your book is the process you have done in terms of gathering interviews. And I'm wondering whether or not, how secure you feel with some of those interviews in terms of what was said and what wasn't said. In short, am I asking, have you touched the surface of only some things based on the way you've gone about doing your research for your book? Question. Number two, the thing that I think that's going to probably be the biggest impact for your book is the discussion of corruption and the deals in this particular area. I think people will be focused on that. Do you think that that's a misreading, if that's what sort of resonates the most, or do you think that that's what you would like people to learn from the book? And the third question I had is, how are you going to get past the fact that this could be seen as a Westerner on an attack?
Westerner on an attack.
On the attack.
I'll take Maznah along and answer the third one and say this is not a Westerner. And I'd like to go back and answer. Maznah asked her. She said she had some reservations and she wondered why I asked her to do it. And I can tell you why exactly, because the bottom line is, of course, you are a specialist in Malay politics, but I'll tell you exactly why. Dr. Mahathir is outspoken. I've written a very frank book, and you have a reputation, which I've seen you in action, for being feisty and direct. And I thought that was the right fit and the right combination. So back to your questions, Bridget. Yes, on the issue of interviewing. In many cases, I was not seeking to uncover a whole new area of territory. In many cases, I wanted to give people the right to either respond. In each of those financial scandals, I raised them with Dr. Mahathir with the idea of sort of saying, well, how about this? Why did this happen or whatever? And of course, he usually blames someone else and minimises them, but at least I've got his reaction in there. So that might be construed as fairly superficial. In those areas that I tried to get into a bit, and one was the UMNO in business, I felt pretty secure and pretty reasonable because as far as I know, I've broken new ground. I don't think there's any published stuff on some of the details I obtained about for instance, this secret fund that UMNO has. It's called the UMNO Political Fund. By its name, it's pretty obvious, but this is a fund that was set up by Tunku Rizali before Dr. Mahathir came in, but it's UMNO has a supreme council. That's the top policy-making body. The Supreme Council does not have access to the details of the UMNO Political Fund. And this is sometimes, it's got, when Dr. Mahathir stepped down and handed over to Bella Badawi, it had 1.3 billion ringgit in it, with shares and investments and everything else. So it was substantial. And so I was able to uncover that, and quite frankly, no one's mentioned it so far, so I'll plug my own findings. There was a controversy when Tunku Rizali, who was the previous UMNO treasurer and finance minister, when he challenged Dr. Mahathir, there was a controversy over the state of UMNO finances. Remembering, a lot of it's not known, a lot of it's sort of within the party. There was a controversy, and both Dr. Mahathir and Daim Zanuddin, who took over as finance minister and UMNO treasurer, they insisted that UMNO was left by Tunku Rizali empty, flat, broke, busted. Well, I'm a reporter, and I got hold of the audited secret UMNO political accounts, and I've got the results in the book. And I'm afraid for Dr. Mahathir and Tun Zaim, it had tens of millions of ringgit in the account, fully audited and everything else. So, and later on, and the reason I know that that UMNO built its headquarters, the Putra World PWTC building in KL, a 42-story building with commercial offices in it. Everyone wants to rent because they want to be near UMNO, and it's got a convention centre and facility there. I also got the UMNO audited accounts on the financing of that building. They borrowed like 260 million ringgit mainly from two state banks, Bank Bumi and Malayan Banking. You know how much interest they paid on it? I mean, they defaulted immediately, didn't pay anything in principal interest for the first 6 or 8 years, and ultimately the audited accounts showed they paid 51,000 ringgit. I mean, that's not even a day's interest on what they made. So I was able to put it to Tun Daim, and yes, he admitted it. So the Malaysian taxpayers contributed at least 140 million ringgit to the construction of UMNO's headquarters, which is the current cash cow for the income for the ruling party. But anyway, so I just yes, the areas that I wanted to go into, I was reasonably happy. There's a limit to how much how much time and how much depth one wants to do. The book's already considered fairly lengthy. I would be happy if people concentrate on corruption. There's a couple of other sensitive areas that they might concentrate on as well that might get into a bit more trouble. But I mean, pervasive corruption is a fact of life in Malaysia, and if the book highlights that in a responsible way, I'm happy for it to be discussed. It doesn't worry me very much about a Westerner on the attack. I keep running into Asians that who've lived in Asia a lot less time than I have, but I'm well aware that I am a Westerner and I apply my own Western judgments to these things. But it doesn't worry me at all. I think I've got whatever the reputation I have developed. I have a reputation for the years I've been in journalism, and I would expect the book to be considered in that light. And some people will be will praise me, and some won't. So I'm happy.
Yeah, just a quick response to the earlier question about what made Mahathir corrupt. So then you asked the question. I think if you were to be kind to Mahathir, you can blame it on Daim. Okay, that was the point that politics became mixed with business quite crucially. And if you want to be even kinder to Mahathir, you could say that he was really surrounded by all kinds of advisors. And I think that came out quite clearly in Barry's book. And at the end of all the scandals, Barry would put in all this statement from him to say that actually I didn't really know what was going on. So it's like his bark was louder than his bite, or you could say that all that sound and fury signified nothing. I mean, this is if you want to be really kind to Mahathir. But I think overall, structurally, there was an enormous pressure for UMNO to live up to his ideals. That it was supposed to be the symbol of Malay economic advancement and progress. He had to put UMNO on an even keel financially, and I think that really motivated them to go into business. But I think without Daim, the whole thing would not have succeeded, because it takes quite a lot of wizardry to manipulate one company, setting up bogus companies, nominees. I really fell asleep, by the time I got to the point when the official assignee, how they manipulated the companies to change hands and set up 5 other shadow companies, so on and so forth. So I think all that could only come from someone who's got that skill, and then I think that was Daim Zainuddin, very clearly, and his boys, of course, including Halim Saad and Tajuddin Ramli. I don't know where they are now. I think they're very silent now. They're living happily somewhere outside Malaysia. Anyway, coming to Bridget's point, I think Bridget, I think Barry is very secure now, because it's a very opportune moment for this book to come out. Because I really realized, the first thing that struck me was that Najib was not at all implicated throughout the book. Right? And I think, number 2, I think this book is going to, I'm sorry that the author will be dead after this, because everyone is going to make use of this book in whatever way they want to. And the first thing that the opposition is going to do is to use this book to depose UMNO, because beyond Mahathir, it was really UMNO that was corrupt. I think, and this book would be a very good ammunition for them. Finally, I think, Bridget, about whether Barry will be chastised because he's a Westerner writing this, I think that's not even going to happen. The worst part of this book is that it's coming out from Singapore. I think that's what, I don't know whether ISIS or Barry being based in Singapore, I think that is what they're going to pounce on, not for the fact that he's a Westerner.